3. Since the moon was just a child,
and the sea flowed like a crystal stream.
The trees grew strong upon my mountains wild,
And the sky was the bluest you've ever seen, bluer than the sky in eagle's dream.
Deloitte jigna una magi, Aktek wali sangko tekni, Mami amadi plik bechidadi je, Kado abakid wanda si, Taneruji walodo suk Disney.
Nous invitons maintenant Monsieur Richard Kishtabich à prendre la parole pour un mot d'ouverture pour ce webinaire mondial pour la décennie des langues autochtones.
Great. Ijinaguzin de Jenekazanen. Mimujagabi Jenekazwan. Hello, everybody. Great. Je vous souhaite la bienvenue. Je suis très honoré d'être parmi vous avec tout ce beau monde-là qui travaille pour le même objectif que nous sommes fixés, c'est-à-dire la revitalisation des langues. Ma langue est en danger, mais je ne me suis pas rendu compte de ça tout de suite parce que parlant ma langue moi-même, je n'ai pas eu nécessairement pris conscience de l'ampleur des dégâts qui se sont passés autour de moi et surtout de mes enfants et de ma famille et de ma communauté. J'aime bien l'ouverture parce que c'est par là qu'on devrait toujours commencer les cérémonies quand on veut faire des présentations sur la langue. La musique est ce qui est de plus important dans le moment pour toute personne. Quand on vient au monde, notre maman nous berce avec des chants. Et mon travail aujourd'hui consiste à faire revenir le son du tambour à travers le territoire où nous avons grandi et où nous avons vécu depuis 12 000 ans. Alors, je vous invite tous et chacune à participer d'une manière respectueuse et aussi d'une manière généreuse par rapport à tout ce qui va se dire et qui va se faire au cours des prochaines années. Nous sommes seulement au tout début du temps qui est nécessaire pour revitaliser la langue. Je considère la décennie comme un flash de temps parce que notre langue est en dévolution, est en train de disparaître. Puis on s'est mis au travail pour l'empêcher, cette glissade-là, de continuer. Et j'espère que tout le monde va être content de pouvoir faire sa contribution pour sauver la langue. Je vous remercie beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Richard Kistevich. C'était vraiment touchant que vous avez nous adressé au début. Merci beaucoup. Dear students and teachers, dear members of the ASPnet Indigenous Advisory Committee, dear colleagues, dear participants, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. A warm welcome to all of you around the world to this important webinar. ASPnet in Action, Engagement for the International Decade of Indigenous Languages. My name is Julie Saito. I'm the International Coordinator of ASPnet. I would like to acknowledge and thank the Canadian Commission for UNESCO for their financial support, great engagement and collaboration in this project. I would also like to thank our colleagues in the UNESCO sector for communication and information, who are in charge of the coordination of the International Decade, as well as from the education sector for their support and collaboration. And it is an honor to welcome all the members of our advisory committee for this project, who represents a variety of indigenous language speakers around the world, and who have advised and guided us in shaping and sharing their knowledge and experience, as well as their enthusiasm and creativity in this activity. Now, some housekeeping aspects. Please click on the interpretation button and select if you like to follow the webinar in English, French, or Spanish. We invite you to use the chat to share greetings in your languages, your country and school name, or for comments. Please use the Q&A tool to ask your questions to the speakers. We will ensure to share their responses with you in a follow-up email from the webinar. UNESCO encourages quality teaching and learning that respects diversity, promotes peace, intercultural understanding to enable both indigenous and non-indigenous persons to live together without prejudice, discrimination, violence, and conflicts. This inclusive approach enables indigenous people to share their knowledge to enrich education systems. This work is an integral part of ASPnet's approach to transformative education, under the premise that education can only be transformative when students feel valued, acknowledged, safe, and are included in the learning community as full and active members. Today, we have come together to raise awareness in our network and beyond of the importance of linguistic diversity and multilingualism for sustainable development and the promotion of transformative education. We will hear inspiring examples of good practices for indigenous teaching and learning, and learn about how schools and each of us can become engaged and take action for the International Decade for Indigenous Languages. This webinar is thus ASPnet's invitation to you all to be inspired to take action. Once again, I would like to thank those involved in this organization of this webinar for all their hard work. Thank you all for being here today and wish you a very fruitful and inspiring webinar. I'm now pleased to invite my colleague Ingarda Kasinskes, sorry, I cannot pronounce very well, Ingarda Kasinskaite Budeberg, who is heading the team for the International Decade of Indigenous Languages at UNESCO, to take the floor for her presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I would like to screen my PowerPoint, and as well to address you all together. So very happy to see the members of the Global Task Force together with us, and as well as very much delighted to address you today to really raise awareness about the importance of indigenous languages, the linguistic diversity and multilingualism. And I would like to take this opportunity, first of all, to thank our colleagues from education sector and for incredible work done by UNESCO Social School Network and our really dear colleagues from Canadian National Commission for UNESCO and members of the Global Task Force who are present here for the leadership, for the collaboration, support in organizing this timely event. And what I would like to share with you today, why languages are important. We already have heard from our previous speaker, distinguished our chair, who was introducing the first in his opening remarks, Richard, what languages are important from his personal experience but looking from the international decade framework, we would like to emphasize that language, of course, is a core component of human rights and fundamental freedoms. And as we constitute as a very important systematic form for communication, for human communication, which places in all human domains importance, allowing people to communicate with each other, transmit their knowledge, values, unique modes of future generations, and obviously participate in society. And for this reason, people's ability to, and freedom, most importantly, to use their chosen language is essential for human dignity. And I would like really to emphasize that really expression in language of your choice is an important part of our work promoting human rights and freedom to express in the language of your choice. But what we see at global level, despite the immense value what language has, the majority of world languages, but we count around 7,000, and many of them are obviously used by indigenous peoples at risk of falling out of use. There are different reasons, as we don't have much time, I will not go into the details, but there are very different reasons why languages are falling out of use. They vary across different communities and locations. And in order to really take concrete actions, which was actually the outcome of International Year 2019, where UNESCO was invited to play an important role. The United Nations General Assembly proclaimed the period of 2022-2032 as international decade. And this year it's a first year. On 13th of December, UNESCO will be celebrating its official launch. We will be bringing high-level participants from around the world in Paris to our headquarters. So those who are present here today with us, you're most welcome to join us in person or to join us remotely, as the meeting will be transmitted. What I would like as well to emphasize, in order to act together, we believe that it's important to have one joint plan and very clearly defined objectives. And among the several important initiatives that UNESCO initiated at early beginning in 2020-21, it was the development of a global action plan, which provides us clearly a strategic framework for joint action, which outlines major actions and guidelines, provides to different stakeholders for implementation, monitoring of different activities around the world. And in order to facilitate its implementation, to support us, to provide guidance, UNESCO as well facilitated the establishment of the international governing structure, which we call it Global Task Force, for making a decade of action. And you can see it on the screen, what is the composition of Global Task Force. But I would like to emphasize as well that we do have members and we have observers, so everybody is welcome to join our discussions and contribute to the organization of International Decade. And Global Task Force obviously provide a strategic guidance for the implementation of action plan, as well as stimulating discussions, providing us feedback on ongoing monitoring processes where we stand with progress made towards attainment of the objectives. What we have in the action plan, we have identified what is expected by the end of the 2030 awareness about indigenous languages, importance of linguistic diversity and multilingualism. We believe as well what is important, what languages would be legally recognized at a state level, and there would be more integration, mainstreaming, and usage of languages across different functional domains, where it would be education, what we speak today, but at the same time, indigenous languages we hope will be used in legal system, in political environment, economic environment, discussions related to climate change, digital empowerment, speaking about gender equality aspects, and many other elements which are important and domains which are important for everyone. And obviously, human and institutional funding resources would be mobilized to support those actions. So you can see it as well on the screen, what were expected outcomes, which are actually very much related to the key assumptions. But we will increase a number of learners around the world who will learn, as well as we will support teachers who will teach, and elders, parents, families to transmit their language to the next generation. We believe that really language acquisition and gaining new learners, it is important for a safeguarding, protection, and promotion of indigenous languages. We as well would like to see what languages in general, and in particular indigenous, would become a global priority. But the commitment, international commitments, and of all stakeholders would include and address indigenous languages. As already mentioned, we hope that there will be more languages legally recognized and used in legal system and legislation. And again, across different, well on the screen, what the action plan, as already mentioned, has 4 major outcomes and 10 outputs, what we call it thematic. And number 1, after the consultations what we had around the world, inclusive education, lifelong learning environments were identified as a key priority. You can see it here, what were priority level, what we identified at global level. And you can see it clearly what's truly holistic approach to languages, dealing with inclusive education, addressing the importance of language for indigenous food systems, of relevant content, to have as well freedom of expression, working with media institutions, access information and technology, going to issues related to health, justice, heritage, biodiversity aspects, economic growth, gender equality, and partnerships. These are the 10 thematic areas which we emphasize. We as well identified during the process what there are direct linkages to Sustainable Development Agenda and goals. You can see it here on the screen, which are directly linked and those which are contributing. We as well have supporting frameworks, and what we really encourage everyone, including here present institutions around the world, but the global action plan cannot stay at global level. We really encourage every institution at national level, at regional level, to localize the action plan, actually to develop something which is relevant, but at the same time, which would be aligned to the global objectives that we have in order to act together. We as well identified what are the key target groups, and obviously indigenous language users, speakers and signers. We speak as well those who use sign language, but we are the most important or primary target group for all our activities. But we as well identified, as you can see it here marked in red, language learners, including new learners, as I mentioned. But we as well would like to see what there is more work done to support teachers, educators, language professionals, whether we are working as well interpretations, translation services, language technology developers, especially those who are indigenous, who would be able to transmit language, who will be able to deliver in the best manner possible for the new learners to engage them in learning processes. What you can see here as well, we identified for each of those thematic areas 10 activities, and these are the most relevant for education, related to education, policies, plans, and programs, clearly increasing the education competencies of education professionals, including professional standards and skills, and obviously paying a due attention to the development of community-based programs, systems, institutions, and supporting them with relevant content. What I would like to invite you, as there are so many around us today, virtually, I could see that we are around 144 participants here together, and institutionally, this is a very important network for UNESCO Social School Network, but you would join the global community by registering as being a user and becoming a full member, which provides you a number of important opportunities, not only to learn what is going on within the context of International Decade, but as well to share your resources, to see what it is available around the world, engage with each other. And just very practical level, I hope that our colleagues will share this PowerPoint, but you can see it, but it's quite easy to register. There are a few steps only how to do it. And what it will bring you, first of all, we are monitoring through International Decade's website what goes on around the world. And you can see it here, which are the countries, which are the regions actively involved. And we know that this is not the most representative because there are many partners who did not register the activities, the projects. But up to date, during this year, we were able to identify what at least 211 events in 33 countries took place already. And we as well monitoring what are the languages are targeted in most events. Activities with some longer term initiatives, projects, which were launched in 14 countries. And we are very proud what the community of practice, and I hope after this evening or morning, depending where you live, there will be bigger one, but we'll have more than 3,000 members who are today working with us, engaged. We are able to share with us information. And you can see it as well, what resources are available, over 500 resources in different languages. Many of them are educational resources for training, teaching indigenous languages. There are many research articles, statistical data, and many other materials which could be useful for your work. So I will stop here by inviting you as well to follow us on social media. And obviously, you're most welcome to join us on 13th of December and continue our work together. So back to the chair of this meeting. Thank you very much.
Bonjour, bonsoir, bon après-midi. Je vais enchaîner peut-être après Irmgarda. Je suis donc neuro de l'éducation. Alors aujourd'hui, je vais faire plutôt un aperçu de la qualité de l'éducation et le rôle des langues. Tout d'abord, comme je ne vais pas parler très longtemps puisque les temps sont limités, vous aurez les détails de ma présentation dans les liens qui sont disponibles dans la fonction chat. Ensuite, vous aurez des diapositives à l'écran. Elles sont en anglais, mais moi, donc, je parle plutôt français. Voilà, ma présentation sera divisée en 3 parties. Premièrement, je vais parler de l'importance de l'éducation bilingue fondée sur la langue maternelle. Ensuite, je vais parler du sommet qui a eu lieu à New York récemment en septembre dernier. Puis troisièmement, je vais donner des exemples d'activités, de projets en cours. Tout d'abord, ma présentation porte sur l'importance des langues dans l'éducation en général, mais en parlant d'éducation de qualité et d'éducation inclusive, nous mettons surtout l'accent sur les groupes marginalisés, y compris les peuples autochtones et leurs langues. Alors, l'éducation bilingue ou multilingue à partir de 2 langues, c'est une définition de l'UNESCO, est un défi que l'UNESCO a lancé depuis 1955, où elle a parlé de l'importance des langues vernaculaires dans l'éducation pour le bien-être de l'enfant, pour son développement aussi bien cognitif que non cognitif. L'inclusion dans l'éducation, c'est-à-dire que l'enfant apprend et qu'il a des résultats scolaires. Donc, c'est ce qu'on entend un peu par l'éducation inclusive. C'est une éducation ouverte à tous et à toutes. Et la langue est un facteur clé parce que pour l'UNESCO, c'est un outil inclusif et ça ne devrait pas être une barrière pour la participation, l'apprentissage et l'amélioration des résultats scolaires. En second lieu, je vais donc introduire très rapidement le sommet Transformer l'éducation qui a eu à l'Assemblée générale des Nations unies en septembre dernier. C'est un sommet donc qui rappelle peut-être qui va peut-être renforcer tout ce qui se fait actuellement dans la décennie et surtout au niveau des pays, parce que je rappelle que l'UNESCO a un rôle de catalyseur, un rôle normatif, un rôle de sensibilisation et de plaidoyer sur l'importance des langues dans l'éducation et aussi dans tous les domaines de la vie publique. Les pays sont les premiers concernés donc par la mise en œuvre de tout ce que l'UNESCO prône au niveau global. Les régions, les pays donc adaptent, prennent ce qui sont pertinents pour leur système éducatif, pour leur population dans ce que l'UNESCO lance ou défend comme initiative au niveau de son siège, avec aussi bien sûr l'aide de tous ces bureaux régionaux qui sont installés dans toutes les régions du monde. Donc, pour moi, transformer l'éducation, le sommet Transformer l'éducation qui est connu sur TESS, c'est plutôt un renforcement de la décennie des langues autochtones parce que la formation des enseignants a été au cœur de ce sommet, la ventilation des données par âge, par ethnicité, par langue. Je ne vais pas tous les mentionner ici, vous les avez à l'écran, mais nous soulignons encore une fois que les enseignants sont les personnes clés, les éléments clés d'une éducation de qualité, inclusive, interculturelle et égalitaire. Sans la formation des enseignants en enseignement bilingue ou multilingue fondé sur la langue maternelle, une éducation de qualité ne peut pas avoir lieu. Donc, c'est ce que l'UNESCO, dans son papier, dans son document de discussion sur l'action numéro 1, qui sont les écoles inclusives, équitables au sommet, a renforcé au cours de ce sommet. Dans son énoncé de vision, le secrétaire général des Nations Unies donc, a repris un peu les recommandations que l'UNESCO a faites dans ce sommet et il a surtout insisté sur l'importance du politique, la volonté politique pour ne laisser personne derrière, pour ne laisser personne de côté et que ce sommet est donc est très important et il a surtout insisté sur les investissements donc égalitaires en termes de distribution géographique, en termes également de profils socio-économiques. Autrement, donc, cette éducation qui a été très malmenée dans ce contexte que nous vivons. Parlons de Covid, de toutes les catastrophes naturelles, sans compter la misère, la pauvreté qui sont déjà là. Les peuples traditionnellement exclus ou marginalisés, dont les peuples autochtones peuvent faire partie, ont été très, très touchés. Et ce sommet a donc le mérite de rappeler l'importance de la langue dans l'éducation pour une éducation de qualité. Ensuite, ma troisième partie, je rappelle que tout ce que je dis ici est détaillé donc dans les liens qui vous sont disponibles à travers la fonction chat, parce que je n'ai pas le temps de m'étaler sur le sommet à New York. En troisième partie, c'est ma dernière partie, il s'agit des exemples d'activités, de projets que l'UNESCO mène actuellement. Je commence par cette révision du position de l'éducation, du document cadre, pardon, de l'UNESCO, l'éducation dans un monde multilingue de 2003. Nous sommes actuellement en train de réviser ce document et le nouveau titre du document sera l'éducation pour un monde multilingue et ce sera un guide sur l'éducation multilingue en termes de pratique et de politique. Nous avons à cet effet mis en place un groupe d'experts constitué de 11 experts de chaque région du monde, dans lesquels nous avons 3 experts sur les langues autochtones. Alors, ce document sera publié en 2023. Nous avons rajouté l'importance du multilinguisme puisque nous parlons dans ce document de la revitalisation des langues. On ne peut pas parler de l'éducation bilingue ou multilingue fondée sur la langue maternelle si les langues sont en danger ou si les langues disparaissent. Ensuite, ce n'est pas marqué à l'écran, mais je l'ai dit tout à l'heure, l'importance donc du rôle normatif de l'UNESCO, parce que comme vous le savez, nous avons, excusez-moi, ma voix est enrouée parce que je suis enrhumée, nous avons élaboré un certain nombre d'instruments internationaux normatifs qui touchent, qui concernent les langues, notamment la Convention de 1960 sur la lutte contre la discrimination dans l'éducation. Nous faisons une consultation avec les États membres tous les ans et le rapport de la dernière consultation est en ligne, disponible pour le public. Vous avez le lien dans la fonction chat. Ce rapport est très important parce que les pays qui ont pris part à la consultation, je crois qu'il y a une 50aine de pays, ont insisté sur la formation donc des enseignants dans l'éducation bilingue, interculturelle et notamment les langues autochtones. Finalement, je termine ma présentation sur un cours en ligne sur la famille et les savoirs autochtones qui a été développé par nos collègues à l'Institut de Hambourg. C'est l'Institut de l'apprentissage tout au long de la vie. Ce cours en ligne est disponible gratuitement jusqu'à la fin donc de cette année et c'est sur les savoirs autochtones et la famille. Donc, je vous invite à consulter ce cours. Voilà, je suis disponible pour les questions. J'ai été très brève, mais vous avez tous les détails dans les liens qui sont disponibles dans la fonction chat. Je vous remercie de votre attention. Merci.
Tervuola Samirnomist.
Epkyede outakin ulkupäin.
Terve. Epkyed nitään olkpeua.
Tervuola Saamis.
Kuode outake olkpellai.
Hurutiliwach. Sakar shqaqih shokoqa. Chuparihun qihre qahoyohtihom chiwach richin. Achikeru mahanilak atinel ritijonik paqachapel mayab richin niqaqi niqil riutzilej nimalej aslen richiri qatinamit richin rikaslen paruviru wachlef.
Gwe, Nin Delu si O Gould, ach Italy ganama si Alison Bernard Memorial High School, esuso ni Canada. Olda si Ilnuisi, milanina migamau, ach nijik mau Ilnuisi tida. United Nations Deluik, monakta midwen, mo teshk igalad wen. Olsidum, motoxum.
That was beautiful. Bonjour. Je m'appelle Isabelle Levert-Chiasson et je suis la chargée de programme en éducation à la Commission canadienne pour l'UNESCO. Nous sommes partenaires avec l'UNESCO pour ce projet en lien avec la décennie des langues autochtones. Ça me fait plaisir de vous rejoindre d'ici le territoire non cédé algonquin qui s'appelle Ottawa. Et justement, le Canada a aussi des origines autochtones, de langue autochtone. On pense que ça vient des peuples Hurons et Iroquois qui voulaient dire dans leur langue autochtone village. Et c'est maintenant bien sûr un nom commun comme, pour ce qui constitue notre pays comme tel. Donc, je suis vraiment contente d'être ici parmi vous pour modérer le panel sur les pratiques prometteuses de comment est-ce que les écoles UNESCO, justement, pratiquent et font la promotion de langues autochtones dans leurs écoles. So I'm so happy and pleased to be here with all of you. I have the pleasure to showcase 3 promising practices from different regions around the globe on how they are basically promoting Indigenous languages, teaching and learning within their own local context. And we hope that this really inspires you to reflect on how does that make sense for you in your school, in your context, in your region of the world, how multilingualism is so important, but also let's not forget that Indigenous peoples have a basic human right to learn in their Indigenous language. So how can we promote that? Whether we have strong Indigenous populations in our schools or whether not, I think we all have responsibilities to learn about the historical relationships of our land and the peoples that were there and how we can include that. So I'm excited to showcase the first example coming from Europe, from the Sami in Finland, who are going to, first of all, we're going to show a video which will give you a primary example of how they are using technology to promote language learning in their region. And you'll actually get to see how it happens, which is really exciting. And then following up, we'll do a little presentation Q&A with some representatives, some Sami representatives of how they are doing that in their communities. So I'll let UNESCO now show the video.
Täällä Kotsamusa ja täällä Frida vuoro ja tun uatsu juovuvatsan talle västitit Kotsamusa. Mutta täällä Frida istun luuva.
Jis lichi jäyri. Te mi jaurit lichi.
Mun litsi mi jäyri.
Okei, tunnitsi i-jäyrit, joo.
Mun litsin aanarjäyri.
Okei, mi-jaurit Hilda litsi.
Jemma, arpas vises.
Okei. No nyt, tälle muona juovuvää Kotsamosan ja taan mun kojataan Bildast vuosmutsani talle järjesehu uatsuhkal västitit. Jistun litsi kove, te makkaar kove litsi.
Mun litsin pöydäkove.
Pöydäkove, joo, okei. Napa Frida tai Hilda.
Miniellekove.
Joo.
Vaikka pennukove tai mini.
Joo, no nyt. Musta olit munin, että mii puolta mielan. Pilta halitahutun alkattetusli kietapajas.
Musta puolta mielan puasui.
No, puasui. Maitsuntot puasui parka. Mii Hildan puolta mielan.
Luento.
Luentu. Ei tunnut. Napa Frida puoltaut tunnin mielan.
Musta puolta mielan tiet ottaa laulumait mun laulistim tosta ko liise anna laitopemi kielai pervaliste mun liuteim ohti karpotsuliude.
Okei, halitahu liutit tom.
Ja mun on muste, mutta jos kaunuu varo Yle Areenasta ja lasten areenasta kostni.
Naa, mustauki niin eres, että mahtot mun kal musta mahtot mana. Mun on tom liute raitalas nuut mankii kötsämete.
Lahu.
Lam.
Lahu tuli aina muu.
Ain tiimes. Okei, mi pyhti vielä vaikka onne tom kötchat, mutta tothan mä näytätte. Potsu, 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 no, 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 no. Musta vetteru.
I love this video because even though I do not speak Sami and understand what was being said, I think as an educator, you get to see the activities of how engaging it is with students, of how they're really trying to be participatory and engaging in learning this Indigenous language. So I would now like to present Hannah Helander, as well as Arla, who is co-presenting with you, Arla Maga from the Sami Parliament, to present this pilot project that they have started actually pre-pandemic of online learning, and what were their lessons learned from opportunities and also challenges of doing online learning for their Indigenous language.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting us. So I work at the Sami Parliament of Finland. Briefly about the Parliament, we represent the Sami people and attend the issues concerning Sami people, languages and culture. And we work in cooperation with, for example, municipalities, like now with the municipality of Utsjoki and Hanna. And the situation of the Sami language education in Finland in brief. So we have 3 endangered indigenous Sami languages spoken in Finland. They are Inari, Skolt and Northern Sami. They are severely endangered. Northern Sami is definitely endangered. These are the estimations by the UNESCO. So the Basic Education Act in Finland ensures the education of these languages for pupils living in the Sami homeland only. That is the northernmost part of Finland. But we have estimated at the Sami Parliament that approximately 75% of the Sami children under the age of 10, however, live outside the Sami homeland. So this is a big challenge. Because of the growing number of the Sami people now move to other parts of Finland. But what's even more concerning is that only 15% of these children receive Sami language education. We have estimated that that's about 300 children in Finland. But yeah, opportunities began 2018 when Ministry of Education and Culture granted a funding. So we initiated, together with the municipality of Utsjoki, a pilot project on distance education of Sami languages. So this has meant access for learning Sami languages for Sami children around Finland, and the number of pupils is growing. We started with 50 pupils, now we have 150 pupils.
And I'm going to reflect the challenges and opportunities we have faced during the 4 years. The pilot project has been going on more from pedagogical point of view. First thing what we noticed was the lack of digital Sami language learning materials, which was quite obvious because there isn't even enough printed material. Another thing we noticed was that distance learning was quite new thing for schools, for the children, and also for our teachers. There was, of course, technical problems, but even bigger problem was with some kids that they didn't want to open their microphone or web camera. They didn't feel comfortable. And then we have noticed there was quite a lot heterogeneity in our pupils' language skills. And of course, we try to form the learning group so that there is same age children with the same level of language skills together, but it's not always possible because of the schedules. And we have tried to solve these problems by seeing them as pedagogical opportunities. So our teaching is child-oriented and accent-based. There's a lot of singing, playing, moving, dancing, as you saw from the video that was Inari Sami language lesson. And in every lesson, there is a lot of interaction. The teachers try to create psychological safety, that the kids know each other very well, and they dare to speak there on microphone. And as an answer to the heterogenic language skills, we have tried language immersion. The Sami language lesson might be the only time when the children hear Sami language. So this is really important. And the teachers try to support understanding visually, and the pupils can help each other too. Kiitos.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Ella. I think, as I said, I think that shows a brilliant example of using technology, particularly when there are limited language speakers, to connect with children or community members across. And I know in Canada, we've seen an uptake on online learning due to the pandemic, but also ways of how we can do that interactively. So now I want to offer a second example, this time of a promising practice, this time coming from Guatemala. Glenda, I'll invite you to put your camera on, or we'll show your video first. So again, showcasing in action how UNESCO schools and youth are promoting Indigenous languages. And in Guatemala, it's beautiful because they're also really linking that with environmental sustainability. How do we care for our planet and Mother Earth through the use of Indigenous languages and promotion? Entonces, vamos a ver el video de Guatemala.
Khuruti lewech, sakar, shkaqir, shokoka. Chuparehun igre, kaho, nin kakot chivech, in kaho chiniwak ashako yoshi chaber, richirishtani, aloponi, acuchillo samehri, anche richin asociación seres.
Che uchanim kim ihbachiwe, maqsach bakno, rq, kichetzih, maqsach bakno, mayaptzih. Shakoruma, rahweshik, kakot, shkiwach, أقلب الأم اليتم شقوخة قياك أسلمال رقتيخ مهكيش باكو شاف بقتيخ شق تيخوخ بقيب شيء شق تيخوخ بقيب شبام رقتيخ برتيخوب آل خاسشينكو وخقوي برقك أسلمال شق قطوش كيوش رنك أحشاك لا مقصش باكنو رقوتون رقمام تقتيت شقوش
Aregorish ta'chueso que chomacuil le comón rechiceres. Sulut om pinkas le mal chukuhe pincomón. Aregori kinshok piachiwe ui om nimnuak nimaktaksik kibi al tomab ruk al omab. Aregori ki om chak takkomón. Chewe ihri ki maltioshir comón rechiceres. Aregori nimtak chak ki omro comón shukuhep taqtihobal maltiosh chke lesiknik ki omchke arekori yashelutush
oje kuchakun parricomón rumal rajushik jaquetamaj ri etampal kiya leqanan leqtat parriuts reche kaslem qator riakalab Real Tomab.
Chupari Asociación Seres Chunguatamag, Chichon, Chiquiwuchiri Unaki, Aquala, Inimak Takunuk,
Junti Honik Nutlung Rikin Rihe, Wakami Intikir Nisamuch, Kikingri Aquala.
Linajej linajuxik likuatinoan, aansa, kalebal sa putsu, sa tsolok, likinelisa, retestaru litinke, panak sali kakalebal, ajelu likuatlik. Okan nakabanyoshiji luliseres, lik angel nashmanu, retokotlik sa kasutan putsa monet.
Lo que más me ha inspirado de la red de jóvenes de Ceres es de que existen espacios de participación. Dentro de ellas he recibido herramientas para desenvolver mi liderazgo, creando espacios de participación, concientización dentro de mi comunidad y seguir motivando a las juventudes para que sean agentes de cambio.
Wonderful. I'd like to now present to you Glenda Marisol Xulu Perez from Guatemala, who will speak about her involvement in working with youth to promote the Mayan language, and as well how in her activities this also promotes a perspective of environmental sustainability and protecting our planet. Glenda, to you.
Muchísimas gracias. Buenas tardes a cada uno de ustedes. Solo quería reconfirmar si pueden ver mi pantalla, mi presentación.
Sí.
¿Sí? Perfecto. Bueno, entonces, primeramente quiero compartirles que estoy aquí como mujer cachiquel, pero a mi lado estoy acompañada de increíbles mujeres y jóvenes de mi país y también de un movimiento de líderes de seres, que para mí es una gran responsabilidad por cada palabra que voy a transmitir y también la perspectiva que traigo no es solo mío, sino de esta comunidad que respeto y represento. Realmente, para hablar, antes de hablar sobre cómo es que nosotros trabajamos también impulsamos programas desde el idioma materno de las comunidades, me gustaría mencionar lo siguiente. Realmente los idiomas son un medio para hacer llegar diferentes tipos de conocimientos a toda una gran generación, que eso nos permite entender una filosofía de vida de un ser, y eso nos ayuda a reconstruir nuestro propio camino, y también nos lleva a que nosotros llevemos ese legado y transmitirla a varias generaciones. Realmente los idiomas originarios de toda comunidad en el mundo llevan una carga de conocimientos, de una cosmovisión, de una cultura, de una historia tan compleja de diferentes formas de entender la vida y el mundo, como son las diferentes conexiones que tenemos con el universo y la Tierra. Al entender estos contextos en las comunidades y en el mundo, hoy en día nos permite conectar, entender de dónde viene nuestra forma de vida y desde ahí reconstruir lo que queremos reconstruir, pero juntos, no como una imposición. Es por eso que todo proceso que queremos construir en las comunidades donde trabajamos es necesario y valioso hacerlo en el idioma materno para poder entendernos. Si esos idiomas se dejan de practicar, se pierde todo lo que en su momento he mencionado y realmente duele cada vez que sucede, pero es porque también nos hace pensar que son sistemas que se imponen, que históricamente sabemos que eso ha sucedido en varias regiones en el mundo y también en Latinoamérica, y se ha perdido una gran diversidad de conocimientos. Hoy en día las conexiones que nuestros abuelos tenían con la madre tierra y con la comunidad, realmente las generaciones actuales conocen tan poco. Es por eso que considero que y también consideramos que los diálogos intergeneracionales son necesarios para poder seguir transmitiendo esos conocimientos, esa historia. Y como organizaciones e instituciones que trabajamos en educación y formación, realmente tenemos una gran responsabilidad y debemos empezar a crear esos espacios con las diferentes generaciones actuales para seguir cultivando y mantener esos valores, esa memoria, esa identidad, esa historia, esa cosmovisión, toda esta cultura. Cuando hablamos de desarrollo sostenible en las comunidades, realmente es necesario que junto a ellos podamos co-crear un concepto que realmente resuene para ellos. tal vez pensar qué significa desarrollo sostenible para las comunidades o qué significa sostenibilidad para las comunidades. Y realmente todos estos términos nuevos que en su momento se crean desde otro tipo de contextos, para las comunidades son temas que son tan profundos cuando empezamos a conversar desde este idioma y logramos hacerlo desde de manera muy inclusiva. Y realmente cuando nosotros, cuando empezamos a trabajar con las comunidades y logramos entender esta forma de vida de las comunidades, podemos juntos empezar a alinear y aperturar las formas de poder fortalecer prácticas de manera ancestral que se están dejando ahorita de un lado o que se están olvidando y que realmente son relevantes para poder empezar a crear sostenibilidad y resiliencia comunitaria. Cuando hacemos este tipo o impulsamos este tipo de espacios bajo esta lente o análisis, justamente se logra poder abrir la mente y poder entender estas perspectivas inusuales y desde ahí justamente se construye la riqueza. Realmente desde Seres como movimiento, nosotros nos consideramos como este movimiento de juventudes, que estamos inspirados, que estamos equipados para hacer la transformación en nuestras comunidades. Pues nosotros trabajamos en Guatemala y Salvador, y pues en Guatemala la mitad de los jóvenes pues se identifican como mujeres indígenas. Y para nosotros, cada vez cuando impulsamos programas en las comunidades, tenemos a grandes aliados y justamente son los propios jóvenes. Cuando nosotros como facilitadores llegamos a comunidades, porque aquí en Guatemala existe 21 idiomas mayas y en las regiones que nosotros trabajamos, a veces no conocemos y no hablamos el idioma de los jóvenes. Porque en mi caso yo soy cachiquel y mi región es cachiquel. Hay facilitadores que son quichés y su región es quiché. Sin embargo, hay otras comunidades donde no logramos hablar el mismo idioma. Los jóvenes nos ayudan para poder transmitir estos conocimientos. Y justamente son estos jóvenes que hablan dos idiomas, un idioma maya o el español, y que nos han ayudado justamente a transmitir la esencia de nuestros procesos. Y hemos escuchado de los jóvenes que al recibir y construir un proceso de formación en su propio idioma ha sido muy poderoso, ha sido tan entendible que eso les ha ayudado a reconectar y reconstruir sus propias formas de ver la vida, su propio liderazgo, que desde ahí se han inspirado en hacer lo que hacen en sus comunidades. Entonces, y eso también crea pertinencia, crea mucha pertinencia en todo el trabajo que hacemos. Bueno, como me puedo mencionar como en este caso, algunas prácticas que nosotros hacemos en nuestras comunidades como pueblos indígenas, por ejemplo, en la agricultura, perdón. Nosotros consideramos que a través de todo el espacio en donde cultivamos, donde sembramos, donde cosechamos, tenemos una gran conexión con la tierra y nosotros tomamos en la tierra lo que necesitamos, porque es nuestro medio de vida y al trabajarlo nosotros aprendemos y lo logramos leer todo lo que significa poder cultivar la tierra, por ejemplo, y creamos otras prácticas que, por ejemplo, en lo que llamamos nosotros permacultura. Y también, como había mencionado, que nosotros tomamos de la tierra lo que es necesario, lo que es para nuestra subsistencia, y no para poder enriquecer y sin pensar lo que eso impacta a la comunidad. Y tenemos un estilo en la cual creemos que tenemos que abrir oportunidades de manera igualitaria en las comunidades. Realmente nosotros como pueblos indígenas hemos logrado entender y cuidar nuestros recursos porque sabemos que tenemos somos interdependientes hacia la tierra y por eso es que nosotros la protegemos, la cultivamos y no con el sentido de explotación. No desviamos los ríos, no vendemos nuestra tierra solo para poder enriquecernos, sino que para poder crear vida realmente. Y entonces, por eso es que nosotros resistimos ante sistemas que realmente llegan a invadir nuestras tierras bajo un término que realmente, o prácticas que realmente no son nada sostenibles. Y también tenemos una lente bajo nuestra propia espiritualidad, que por ejemplo nosotros a la tierra le rendimos un tributo, ceremonias para una larga existencia, y porque sabemos que no podemos dejar de producir para beneficio de todo ser vivo. Y también nuestra forma de poder ver la vida a través de la comunidad. Nosotros como pueblos indígenas tenemos nuestra propia forma de organización comunitaria y tomamos decisiones bajo la lente de que necesitamos poder reconstruir para un bien común. Y también hemos entendido los ciclos del tiempo, las diferentes formas de vida para la medicina, la mejor manera del uso del agua para nuestros cultivos y una gran diversidad. Y todo lo que he mencionado realmente es tan poco de lo que yo puedo compartir, de lo que implica poder entender toda esta historia, lo complejo que tienen los conocimientos de las culturas, y por eso es que es tan necesario que podamos seguir y impulsar procesos en los idiomas maternos de los pueblos originarios. Solo eso puedo decir. Muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Glenda. It is such an important message to connect Indigenous languages with the land. And this example from Guatemala really showcases how they are using language learning directly with agriculture, with learning how to take care of the land, make food, feed themselves in the community, and be very active. So thank you. That was such a beautiful example. Our last promising practice comes from close to where I was born, in the east coast of Canada, in Cape Breton Island, in the First Nations community of Eskazoni. I'm very pleased to showcase this example, as it's near and dear to my heart as well, to see what is happening only a few hours from where I grew up. So first we'll show the video and then have a concrete example of how they're using arts and culture, intergenerational learning with elders, land-based education to teach and promote the Mi'kmaq language.
Gwen Lucy Noel Johnson, principal of St. Bernard Memorial High School. My name is Noel Johnson, and I just want to say thank you for allowing us the opportunity to participate in this conference. We have a video for you, and I hope you enjoy it. It just highlights some of the things that we do at ABMHS to integrate language, art, and culture into the programs that we do here at our school.
In our language, degek, it could be cold outside. Degek nilo, right? My food is cold. Degek, your drink is cold, right? We got him lagluswahan, write it down, guys. Jigladun la, gate, midum wiga sigma pesa. See how it is? Because it's related to each other. But it's jigladun la, guess bisog, it's raining. Besa means snowing.
If it ends in I, and this is another vowel, they can't meet. You would have to drop your I, and it would be absukta. Okay?
So it'll just be A-P-S-U-K.
Yep, you got it.
No apostrophes or nothing?
No, absukta, no apostrophes. Because absukta won't work. All of these, you have a vowel. That means in all of the words you create, you have to drop your I. So it's gwinabui, winkuda, winabuit, winigit, and so on. Okay? So you could use Winnie as many times as you can, and these could be your endings. Try Winnie for all of them. Some won't work, but some will. But you gotta make sure you understand this and that. Okay? So winabuit, drop your I.
Bulumugig Jujis. Well, Enche, Victor Bantan, Enche. Panadena. Wait, where's he doing? Point it.
Oh, look at the little
Ready.
centipede.
Ready.
No.
Yes, is it? Terriquela doing. Scotch, yeah. That I'm not still scotch.
Ah, you can work with that.
Stop and I'm upstairs.
Ja, wat die wat de stand is het? Wat dik is nou wat deel sini. Mak suwe wat die. Kijk, nee, ik zeg dat. Oh, nee, ik kan hem niet. Als je wat hondje, pas je kan mogen. Nou, het is hier met die, pas je niet.
What a great example video of how this school is really involving the community. So I'd now like to invite the school principal for this UNESCO school, Newell Johnson, as well as Carter Chiasson, who is a music teacher who uses the music and arts to promote the Mi'kmaq language, to just speak a little bit more to us about how they are promoting the Mi'kmaq language in their community. Hi, Carter and Newell.
Hi there, we're just setting up our screen.
Hi. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. My name is Carter, and this is Well. Hope you like that video. Essentially, that's a day in the life of our school, highlighting some of the things we do to promote language and culture here at ABMHS. The music video that you've seen there was actually one of the projects I did with the kids, as is the screenshot in this opening slide, as well as from another one. We're going to come back to that a little later, but we got a few slides to go through here. So just me or you, Noel?
Me.
That's you.
All right, just to give you a little bit of background of where we are and who we are called Allison Bernard Memorial High School, formerly known as Eskazoni High School. We are the largest Mi'kmaq high school east of Quebec, Montreal. Yeah. We've got 270 students. We're 9 to 12 inclusive. So one of our themes that we like to inspire our students is educating our future in touch with our culture. And from the video, you've seen that we integrate a lot of our cultural history, our cultural knowledge into all the things that we do. We follow the provincial guidelines and curriculum. We are an independent school. However, we do align our curriculum with the province so that our students can be transferable and that they are ready for post-secondary whenever they decide to leave. We have the Mi'kmaq Education Act that was established in 1999, and that just states that all First Nation schools who have their own education system they can govern themselves and create their own provincial guidelines and their own curriculum. There is an umbrella program that supports all First Nation schools, and it's called Mi'kmaq Namad Noe. They support all 13 bands, all 13 schools. They're just an amazing organization.
on here. So if just a little bit about where we're at in the world. So we are on the island of Cape Breton, which in Mi'kmaq is the word Unama'ki, which is on the most eastern part of mainland Canada. And we're in the province of Nova Scotia. It's a very beautiful part of the world. This is actually a photo of our community and our school. Our school's right here, is this correct? This is before the school was here, right? It's an older photo, yeah. Anyway, if you're ever on this part of the world, come and visit us. And just talk a little bit about the Mi'kmaq language. So the Mi'kmaq language is actually an endangered language. The more than 65,000 Mi'kmaq people alive today, only about 11,000 people speak the language still. And it's Mi'kmaq speaking more so in this community, in our community of Eskazoni, more than any other community. I've had to travel around to most of the Mi'kmaq communities, and you really don't hear it spoken that much, unfortunately. But it's still spoken here, and here in Eskazoni. Actually, an elder told me one time that it's possible that this language could be extinct within 2 generations. Yeah. So anyway, lots is being done to promote the language and try to prevent that from happening. Something else that a lot of people don't know is that this language was orally passed down until very recent times. Actually, it wasn't until the 1970s that the 2 gentlemen, one gentleman who lives nearby, actually, Bernie Francis, developed an orthography where the language can be written down, right? Which has done huge things to help and preserve this language. And as our video highlighted, and as we'll talk about here in a few minutes, there's just so much going on to revitalize the language through the MK organization that Noelle mentioned. Something else is the Mi'kmaq Immersion School, which you can find out a lot about online. There's been lots of news stories and such. And that's an immersion school here in the community where all students that attend the school actually attend school and speak only Mi'kmaq all day, every day. Up until what grade is that? 4. Up until grade 4. And it's a very special thing. Yeah, and then I want to bring attention to that. We have a YouTube where myself and other teachers create content for, and you can check that out online. And one of the things that I do is create music videos, or write original music and create music videos with my students, and short documentaries as well on different educational initiatives that are happening here. And yeah, so in the video that played earlier was based around a project I did called My Unama'ki, My Cape Breton, that featured, many of our students as musicians and singers, as well as people from the community. And there's other projects on there too that deal with language and culture. One of them is this one here. It's called We Shall Remain, which was actually a commission by the National Orchestra of Canada. So we wrote that song for them, and it's been performed with the National Orchestra a number of times. And there's clips of that online, as well as a pop version, which I produced with the students. And then we actually do the cover of the Beatles song Blackbird, which was incredible. It went viral, and it's done a lot to help bring awareness to all the efforts to save the Mi'kmaq language. And there's various other ones. Yeah, you can check those all out on our YouTube. So please do that. And if anybody wants to get in touch, just look us up online, Allison Bernard Memorial High School.
Thank you to you both. It just showcases really some concrete examples and ways that schools can rally and engage with the community, with elders, with music, but also the use of music and how arts, culture, music can all be intertwined. And what I love about this example is exactly these concrete community projects that then are shared and show pride in Indigenous languages. So we will share in the chat, actually, Carter, if you want in the chat to share your YouTube link, because there's also some really beautiful videos, music videos that can maybe inspire other communities to also use music and the arts as a way to promote Indigenous languages. Now we're, I guess, to our action part. So I will now share the stage with my UNESCO colleagues, Eric and Vanessa, who are going to showcase how you can take action in the decade in your community.
Thank you very much, Isabel, and thank you to all our panelists today for sharing their transformative pedagogical approaches and learning activities for teaching and learning Indigenous languages. Our panelists today are also members of our ASPnet Indigenous Advisory Committee, which has been established at the very beginning of this pilot project in early 2022. Together, we co-created the activities of the one-year pilot project, including a global survey and this global webinar today. My colleague Vanessa will now give you some further insights in the survey results, and the report which we are working on will be shared in November before the official launch event for the decade on 13th of December. Vanessa?
Yes, thank you very much to all the schools and the national coordinators who replied to our survey. I know a number of you are here today. There were 211 schools who replied to the survey from 39 countries from all around the world. It was incredibly rich. We very much appreciate the time that everyone took in sharing their school's practices, experiences, and projects. And as Eric noted, we're in the process of finalizing a report that synthesizes the results of the survey in order to share all of those inspiring practices going on in ASPnet schools for the teaching of Indigenous languages. And the report on the survey discusses, firstly, the teaching of Indigenous languages in in-person or digital classroom settings. Secondly, the promoting of Indigenous languages through international days and other activities. And then thirdly, the mainstreaming of Indigenous peoples' cultures, histories, and knowledges based on a human rights approach. The report, well, it highlights activities of diverse ASPnet schools from around the world. The work of the panelists who shared with us today is included in this report. And to give you a few more examples, one example of an ASPnet school with an interesting approach to the teaching of Indigenous languages is the Rosebank School in Auckland, New Zealand. The school offers bilingual programs in Te Reo Maori and Samoan and incorporates Indigenous knowledges into its curriculum and school culture. Shelby Kiwi, who's the team leader of the Te Reo Maori unit at the Rosebank School, and she's also a member of the ASPnet's Indigenous Advisory Committee. She noted that the Maori bilingual program not only offers robust language learning through a 50-50 partage between English and Maori, but it also seeks to integrate Maori knowledge and practices into daily rituals, like the opening and the closing of the school day, as well as into subject courses, such as mathematics. And the goal is therefore an education system which is fully interwoven with Indigenous knowledge. Shelby was originally scheduled to be a panelist today and unfortunately couldn't join us. However, she shared a video of a song performed by the students of the Rosebank School. The Waiata song in Te Reo Maori talks about the beauty and importance of keeping this Indigenous language alive. And we're going to take a quick look at it right now. Great, thank you so much. And to give an example of a school that uses UN International Days, which is another idea that's highlighted in the report to promote Indigenous languages, there's the Sistema Educativo San Isidro Labrador in Costa Rica. They celebrate the International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples, and then they use the occasion to teach students words in Bribri. Students research the indigenous peoples of Costa Rica, and then they put cards with words in Spanish and in Bribri all around the school, as you can see in the photo on the slide. There are also other schools that have worked to mainstream indigenous peoples' cultures, histories, and knowledges. So for example, Havergal College in Toronto, Canada, has really adopted a whole school approach to incorporate indigenous cultures and knowledges. They engaged an indigenous educational consultant to audit the curriculum, to educate and train faculty, and also to support the planning of student activities. And this has allowed Havergal College to integrate indigenous ways of knowing into their primary and secondary school classrooms. The report also provides suggestions for the teaching of indigenous languages based on all of these very rich survey results. So we look forward to sharing the report with you very soon. And there are just so many promising and inspiring practices in ASPnet schools today. So thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. Yeah, in the registration form for this webinar, we have asked you all about the languages you speak, write, or sign, and why languages matter for sustainable development. Your responses are very impressive. So there were over 300 people have registered for the webinar from over 75 countries, and together we all speak, sign, or write over 120 languages. To the question why languages matter for sustainable development, you have stated, for example, languages are the main means of communication. They convey messages, express emotions, intentions, and values. They allow us to understand one another and to share information. Languages are people's perspective of the world. We need them to share and or negotiate the values of sustainable development. Language is the basis for culture and identity and for learning. They carry the knowledge of the land. It makes us connected because through language, we can pass our cultures, traditions, and customs to the next and future generations. Because we are a global community and the preservation of languages forms part of who we are. Languages promotes tolerance and understanding of diverse peoples of their cultures. Languages are there to ensure the inclusion of all because language, it's a unifier. So your responses make clear languages, linguistic diversity, and multilingualism matter for sustainable and societal development. Languages are part of our identity, enable us to participate, to create, interact with each other, and to transmit our knowledges and heritages. Language plays a crucial role for people and the planet and for inclusive education for all. That's why it needs our joint effort to use, preserve, protect, and revitalize all languages, like the motto of the decade, leaving no one behind, no one outside. The decade has just started, and we are sure that you have many ideas on how you can contribute to it and to take action. So we are curious to learn about your ideas and like to invite every one of you to participate in a Mentimeter on the two questions. What is your main takeaway from this webinar? And also to share your ideas on how you can take action to contribute to the decade in your local context or school. To participate, there are three options. You can click on the link in the chat. So I ask my colleagues to put the link in the chat to get on the survey, or you can scan the QR code, which is displayed on the screen, or you can type in www.menti.com and insert the code. Please participate in this Mentimeter. We are curious to learn about your practice and ideas for the decade, and have a look in a minute. Let's have a look at the results. think it takes a bit more time for everyone to participate. So please click on the link in the chat. And we are waiting for the responses. I can also share once more my screen with the QR code and the link. So please, when you go to www.menti.com, please insert this link, this code, also 31945114. But you can also click directly in the link which is provided in the chat. So we are now jumping back to the results to have a look. Oh, now there are a lot of main takeaways. So language is the heart of identity. We need more inclusion of many indigenous languages around the world. I speak Marma, an endangered language from Bangladesh. Diversity of cultures. Indigenous language for sustainable development. Indigenous languages is a human right. Language learning and practice can cross over curriculum. All cultures have a great deal to offer. Amazing projects are happening. Great. Let's have a look at your ideas for joint action for the decade. More empowerment in the field level to encourage young generation to learn their own language beside dominant languages. To share with them in webinar, to have more webinars. Research the IDLE website and social media pages. So as a follow-up from this webinar, we will share with you all the presentations, the recordings in diverse languages, the videos you have seen today, but we also provide you with a guideline how you can join the global community for the decade, as shared by our colleagues, how you can access the platform, how you can create own events to advocate for indigenous languages around the world. This will be a follow-up we will provide to you. There's one more organizing projects and activities with the schools of different districts. Yes, so to enable community learning, to work together with other schools. And as a global network, we will, of course, will support you also to work together and build collaborations to provide joint learning opportunities. We will collect all those results and also will share this with you as a follow-up. Thank you so much for your rich participation. Thank you to all who spoke today and shared their insights and practices. And I'm now very pleased to invite once more Mr. Kistabish to provide the closing remarks of today's webinar. Mr. Kistabish is the president of the Canadian Commission, but he's also a member of the Global Task Force for Making a Decade of Action for Indigenous Languages. And we are looking forward to your closing. Thank you so much. Sir, we are not able to hear you.
They always say these are intelligent machines. Sometimes I don't believe that. Most of the time, I don't believe that. Anyways, since I'm doing the closing remarks, I'm going to cheat a little bit about your last question here, the previous presentation. I have some, I enjoy all the presentation that happened this afternoon. I say this afternoon because for me it's 2 o'clock now. And I really enjoy the way that is being presented by the Eskasuni community in my country. They use music, they use games, they use these kind of activities to promote the language. That is one of the best way to revitalize the language. I was raised in the bush myself. I was raised until 6 years old in a bush. So the only way that I learned my language was by playing. I've always played with my dad and with my mom and my uncles, my aunties, because I was a little boy, 3, 4, 5 years old. And it was wonderful. That was the most wonderful part of my life, was to be traveling there, to be a nomad, to travel all the territory. It was wonderful. That's how I've been learning my language. And I still speak my language. So it is, I try to convince sometimes people at the UNESCO here in Canada to have translation, not only in French, English, or Spanish, but to have a translation be done in my language. I could speak my own language, but hire someone that will translate my presentation. This is one of my wish that I have. I know Irmanda was listening the other day about this project, this idea, but it could happen. I know it's not very costly to have that. All we have to do is find some fluent speakers in their own language in order to do that. I have other ideas about exercise or activities that could be done. We always see during the presentation, most of the presentation that I've seen so far, they always mention about the revitalization of the language. But in a decade, 10 years, that will take, it's going to be only stopping the thing that we are disappearing. You know, we have to do other things. The other day, I was listening to an elder that he says that in 10 years from now, I wish to hear children speak in their own language in the schoolyard. That's a dream. Me, what I said about that is, why don't we make a promotion and a promotion to all the future parents, the future moms, the future dads, that every newborn should have their own name in their own language. In 10 years from now, those kids will go in the school and they're going to shout their names in the schoolyard. We will be no more John, Paul, George, or Ringo, but we're going to have Ishinaguzi, Wanaki, Minashin, Minawe. These are the names of my families. And Migis is 40 years old. I was doing that 40 years ago. You know, to keep the language alive, we start with our names. This is one of the ideas that I have in there. Also, we have to use humor. We have to laugh. I learned my language like that. Every time I pronounce a word, always my dad laughs at me, and my mom also. But it's okay, you know, to laugh. It's a good thing. Also, I know that education will take a big part of the responsibility of revitalizing the language, but also they need partners. They need activities around the education, like music, the drum, like theater, like movies, like plays, theater. These kind of activities are necessary to support the action that was taken by the education system. It is essential because kids, when they go home, you know, they learn words at school, but after that, it's empty. I always remark that when the school teaches few words, it's good. It's very good, actually, because my grandson, that's where he learned my language, at the school. But he needs some activities to promote the language. So playing is a good way. I encourage my my elders, my old people in my community, when they play cards, they use their own language to play cards, but they use a story at the same time when they play. It's like a theater. It's like a movie, that the story that they tell while playing cards. In education system also, we have to be really have a creative minds in order to develop a space for the kids, especially in school boards in town. These institutions don't have any much space of time in order to teach some words. We have some kids in my place that they go to that kind of a school. That will be great if the school put in place a space of time, 5 minutes or less, but to teach only one word. And we just have to imagine how that kid, that native kid in that classroom, is alone. He will be the one who's going to bring a new word each time. It's going to make him proud. We installed gradually dignity, proud to be an Indian, to be an Anishinaabe. This is one of the things that we have to do. And other partners, other organizations have to rewrite the history of our people in each country. It is essential to know the real story. It is the truth, and that truth has to be exposed to our population, to our children, to our kids. And that way, they're going to ask questions also, and we have to provide answers. So we're going to restore the memory of our ancestors. We're going to install their way of thinking, and we're going to be restoring their image. And then we're going to ask to have the restitutions of everything that they were taking from us. That's a big challenge that we have in front of us, but it's exciting. I'm living now an exciting moment of my time now, because of what's happening, because of the challenges that we have in front of us, It's a passionate thing, to do. So I'm willing to travel all around the world if I wanted to, because I wanted to deliver this message to everyone. And I hope I'm going to see all of you on December in Paris, especially you, Amanda. Thank you.
Thank you, Miigwech,
Thank you.
Richard. The global launch is happening on December 13th, so tune in or show up in Paris to meet Richard and the rest of the UNESCO crew.
Wow.
1, 2, 3. Since the moon was just a child,
and the sea flowed like a crystal stream.
The trees grew strong upon my mountains wild,
and the sky was the bluest you've ever seen. Bluer than the sky in eagle's dream.
Deloitte jigna unamagi, Akdet wali sangko tekni, Mami amadik mi kachidadi je, Kado bakid wandasi, Daneruji waloda suktisni.
I am ancient and forever, and they call my name Cape Breton. of my shores. The hand of God has touched me. If you're quiet, you can hear him as he wanders singing quietly in the hills beyond your door.
Siam stades took me pouches gave ganji.
J'ai versé quelques larmes en fin de journée pour ceux au loin qui se sentent endormis. Isna greater nek Mordechai. Nos enfants ont voulu une nouvelle vie. Ils se sont établis en amitié.
Denni gan giwan amori.
Angara isn't kelsen amarik. Jamais ne seront-ils oubliés.
I am ancient and forever, and they call my name Cape Breton. I have watched 1,000 seasons fill the beauty of my shore. The hand of God has touched me. If you're quiet, you can hear him as he wanders singing quietly in the hills beyond your door. I am calling to my children, come back home.
Scanbuch Kaylee of Uxbage Dongamore.
Impelladok sim abjedayo. Alors que l'ex surveille là-haut. Elle adore ce de ma comme oiseau.
For I am ancient and forever, and they call my name Cape Breton. I have watched 1,000 seasons fill the beauty of my shores. The hand of God has touched me. If you're quiet, you can hear him as he wanders singing quietly in the hills beyond your door. Yes, he is wandering, singing quietly in the hills forevermore.
Merci, bye.
Thank you so much to all. Thank you. Thank you to UNESCO Tech team. Thank you so much.